Hey, what's up everybody? We're walking through the first epistle of Peter, and today I'm going to attempt to go through verses 3 through 9. Wow, you're talking about a lot of material, but I think I found a common thread, maybe a couple, but one definite common thread that I want to just kind of highlight and show you how all of these verses kind of point toward that. So let's go ahead and go there and read now. Verse 3, Blessed be the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, which according to his abundant mercy hath begotten us again, or it's a reference to the new birth, born again. He hath begotten us again unto a lively hope by the resurrection of Jesus Christ from the dead, to an inheritance incorruptible and undefiled, and that fadeth not away, reserved in heaven for you, who are kept by the power of God through faith unto salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time, wherein ye greatly rejoice, though now for a season, if need be, ye are in heaviness through manifold or many different types of temptations, that the trial of your faith, being much more precious than of gold that perisheth, though it be tried with fire, might be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ, whom having not seen ye love, in whom, though now ye see him not, yet believing ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. So, I want you to read these verses, and you're going to see, I think there's 7 verses here. I believe the heart of these verses is actually the coming of the Lord. And probably even more generally, just the end of time, the end of things for us. And the coming of the Lord is mentioned several times. And so I do believe that there is a very straightforward context there, being the end of time, the coming of the Lord, kind of an eschatological type set of passages here. But I think that we can also apply that, whether Jesus comes back before we die or not. I think that we can apply this to our mindset about looking for his coming. Because if you remember, we're reading the epistle of Peter, who wrote this nearly 2,000 years ago. But as he's writing to those that are scattered abroad, those strangers that have gave their hearts to Christ, they're sold out, they're totally committed to Christ and stripped away from their homes, a lot of them pushed out of their cities. Their culture is, from wherever they're at, whatever town, whatever culture they were submerged in, Christianity created a new culture. And that new culture was diametrically opposed to the old, the spiritual versus the world, the carnal. And so he's talking to these incredible born-again, saved people, and he's telling them, I know that you're going through some stuff. I mean, just look at it for yourself. In verse 6, he makes reference to them being in heaviness through many different temptations. And then verse 7, he references them, the trial of their faith. He says, don't begrudge the trial of your faith. It's more precious than gold and silver that's tried in the fire. It's pure gold. But he talks about, let me see, what else? He makes another reference here, a trial of your faith. And he says, you've got to be found unto praise and honor and glory at the appearing of Jesus Christ. There it is again, that reference to the coming of the Lord, in whom having not seen ye love, and whom though now you see him not, you're rejoicing. And so he's talking about the coming of the Lord, and then he's talking about saving us. Now this is a beautiful concept too, because we weren't just saved by grace. We are being saved by grace, and we shall be saved by grace. We are saved from sin. We are saved from ourselves, and we are saved from eternal damnation. And so the coming of the Lord is going to save us from this present world, from the wickedness in it. And you say, well, why do I want to be saved from the world? You need to think about that. That is exactly what I've been trying to teach and preach for a while. People can't figure out what it is exactly that we need to be looking for the coming of the Lord so much for. What is so terrible about my life that I need the coming of the Lord? And it is in that right there that I am so concerned about the church world. There's no pilgrim attitude. There's no stranger, alien type mentality. We have become a part of this world. We live here. We love this place. We are chained up. The cares of this life have just completely consumed us. And I'm terrified for the world that my children are coming up in, because when I look at the church world, I see a church world that is in love with this world. The American church is in love with this world. And so when we read these verses, we really can't relate. When we talk about manifold temptations, the worst that we get is somebody talking about us on Facebook, or somebody blocks us off of Facebook, things like that. We have everything. We don't have the need of anything. And it's because we're not making a stir. We're not really making an impact in the surrounding communities that we're in. We're basically just going through the motions. But Simon Peter's talking to people here that have really committed, and it's cost them something. And I think that even in America, Christianity ought to cost us something. We should be making a stand for truth, making a stand for righteousness. We should be making a stand for those that don't have a voice. We should be speaking out against abortion. We should be speaking out for the traditional marriage. We should be a voice, a mouthpiece. And I don't mean some of these knuckleheads that are just angry and just all the time fighting. I'm talking about with a heart of love and compassion, with boldness, really wanting to make a difference. We could see temptation. We could see persecution in America, but not as long as we're lukewarm. Being lukewarm, he's going to spew you out because you're not cold and refreshing. You're not warm and healing. There's no property inside of most people that can profess to be Christian. They're just lukewarm, and there's no healing or restorative qualities there. No refreshing qualities. Just spewed out. That type of person doesn't really relate to these verses. But these are the scattered. These are the strangers that have been uprooted and are now shifted, and they're on the move. But Simon Peter is telling us, saying, you're going through some things. You're really being hit heavy, and maybe you're going through some things. Maybe you're being hit, pounded right now by the enemy. Maybe this is a tough time in your life. Peter is telling you, hold tight. The coming of the Lord is here. Rejoice about this. There's a lot that I can say about this. It's just powerful. But I'll highlight quickly the verses that are referencing futuristic things and how we should have hope about a brighter day coming. The first thing he says, he makes reference to a lively hope. Okay? The resurrection of Jesus Christ has given us a lively hope, something for the future. Then he talks about an inheritance. And then he talks about salvation. Okay? Salvation, I'm already saved. Yeah, but you're being saved. You're going to be saved from this wicked world. And then he talks about a trial of your faith is more precious than gold. He said, I want you to be ready. I want you to be found in praise. I want you to be found in honor and glory for the appearing of Jesus Christ. Again, another reference to out there. And so we have to rejoice. And even verse 8, he says, I want you to rejoice with with joy unspeakable and full of glory, receiving the end of your faith, even the salvation of your souls. We are saved now, but we're going to be saved eternally so. All of these references to a futuristic event. I want to be looking for the coming of the Lord. I want to be prepared for Him. I don't want to die miserable, depressed. I want to be praising Him. I want to be giving Him glory. I want to be giving Him honor, because I know that soon and very soon we're going to see the King. We're moving towards something, and we need to be praising, we need to be worshiping, we need to be celebrating that. So we're heading towards something beautiful and something spectacular, and we need to be walking in the light of eternity every moment, knowing that today could be the day. But I wanted to bring your attention to, he talks about joy unspeakable in verse 8 and full of glory. And what we've done with that text is we have made that text say this: God is going to give you full of joy overflowing, and God is going to give you joy unspeakable. And we use these verses. Now, I do believe that God is going to give us overflowing joy and, glory that's overflowing and joy that's unspeakable. I believe He's going to do that. But that's not what this verse is saying. He is saying you're going through temptations. You're going through the trial of your life. You're going through a fiery trial. Your faith is on trial. And he says, being much more precious than that of gold that perisheth. You need to know that what you're going through right now is the greatest thing that's ever happened to you. Though it be trial of fire, it might be found under praise. This trial, this temptation should translate into your hands raised and heart rejoicing, knowing that it's working something beautiful and that the coming of the Lord is upon you. And then verse 8, he says, I know you haven't seen Him, but you love Him. And though you don't see Him right now, you still believe in Him. I want you to rejoice. How? I want you to rejoice with joy unspeakable, and I want you to rejoice full of glory. He's not talking about what God is going to implant in us. He's talking about the emotion that we should be praising him with. And what is the context? Temptation and the fiery trial of our faith. You see, we've kind of gotten a little off kilter, haven't we? We have to have everything just right. Everything has to be smooth. Everything has to be paid off and paid up. And we have to have enough money to go get a fried chicken after church on Sunday. If anybody is talking and saying anything negative about us at all, we're falling apart. Simon Peter says, not only are you going to go through some stuff, not only are you going to be tempted and tried, but you need to. This is precious. This is valuable. And not only is this valuable and you need to go through it, he says this, and this is incredible. You need to praise your way through it. You need to give glory to God all the way through it. Because you know that whatever you're going through right now, it's going to pass. The coming of the Lord is coming. And so Jesus may not have, the rapture may not happen this month. And one of us might die before then. But I'm meeting the Lord. And so I want to live every moment. Just like Peter is admonishing these scattered saints. Live every moment like you're in the last moment. Like this is the moment Jesus is coming. Love people. You know, a tragedy happened. I was on vacation the last couple of weeks. And a young man that came to our church here, a guy that I liked, a guy that really had a lot of potential. He got astray. I think he was on some drugs and some things happened. And this guy actually murdered his girlfriend and then committed suicide. It was so shocking. It just really turned me upside down. But it got me thinking about, in context here, you don't really know who you're talking to. This guy came to church here. I met him at the gym, talked to him a few times, and somewhat I kind of felt a little bit of shame and a little bit of guilt because I thought, well, maybe I could have or should have done more. No doubt we all should with everybody all the time. So I didn't just let it destroy me. I meet tens of thousands of people, and it's just really hard to give all day to everybody all the time. So it's not feasible. But it did make me think along these lines that if the coming of the Lord could happen tonight, or if this could be the last interaction I have with somebody, it's the same attitude, same feeling I got, then I need to be conducting myself every moment as if this is my last moment here or my last moment with you. I need to love, I need to be bold, I need to speak truth, those kind of things. And so I want you to look at these 7 verses. Get a hold of them, dissect them. We got an inheritance that's incorruptible, waiting for us. Salvation is heading out, eternal salvation forever from this world, from sin, from the pain, from the suffering, from the temptations, from the trials. God's got us covered. Hold on and have a connection with God to such a degree that you can rejoice in this temptation because God is using it. All things work together for the good of them that love God and are the called according to his purpose, Romans 8:28. So trust that, believe that. So hope this helped you. I'll talk to you next time.